Imagine running a state-licensed business, paying taxes, following regulations, and serving the public legally, but you still cannot open a normal bank account or accept a credit card. This is the reality for many cannabis dispensaries across Virginia and the United States. Here's the context. Over the last 2 decades, states across the country have legalized medical and adult-use cannabis in some form. Virginia joined that movement with a tightly regulated medical cannabis program overseen by the state. Despite this progress at the state level, cannabis businesses remain largely excluded from the traditional financial system. Many dispensaries still operate as cash-heavy businesses, not because they want to, but because they have no other practical option. This video explains why that happens, how it affects everyday people, and why it matters far beyond cannabis. Here's the legal explanation. The core issue is federal law. Under federal law, marijuana remains classified as a controlled substance. Because of this classification, banks and payment processors are subject to federal regulations related to money laundering, fraud prevention, and risk management. Most banks are federally insured or federally regulated. Accepting funds from a cannabis business, even one fully legal under Virginia law, can expose those institutions to compliance risk, regulatory scrutiny, or loss of federal protections. As a result, many financial institutions label cannabis businesses as high-risk clients. This classification limits access to basic checking and savings accounts, credit and debit card processing, business loans and lines of credit, merchant services used by nearly every other industry. Some local or specialized institutions do serve cannabis businesses, but access is inconsistent, costly, and limited. How this affects Virginia dispensaries. In Virginia, licensed medical cannabis dispensaries operate under strict state oversight. They must comply with security rules, inventory tracking, and reporting requirements. Yet many still face barriers to basic financial services. This often forces dispensaries to rely on cash-based systems or workarounds that increase operational complexity. Managing large amounts of cash requires additional security, armored transport, and internal controls that would be unnecessary in most other regulated industries. For smaller operators, these costs can become a barrier to long-term sustainability. How this affects consumers. This issue does not stop at the business level. For patients and consumers, limited banking access can mean inability to use credit or debit cards, fewer consumer protections during transactions, reduced accessibility for people who do not carry cash, longer wait times and less efficient service. Cash-heavy environments can also create safety concerns for employees and customers alike, especially in urban areas. This is not about convenience alone. It is about access, safety, and fairness in everyday commerce. Why this matters beyond cannabis. This issue highlights a larger contradiction in U.S. policy. Cannabis is taxed, regulated, inspected, and licensed by states. Revenue flows into state budgets. Jobs are created at the local level. Communities rely on these businesses operating responsibly. At the same time, those same businesses are excluded from the financial systems that support nearly every other legal industry. This disconnect creates economic inefficiencies and places unnecessary strain on workers, small business owners, and local governments. It raises a broader question about how modern commerce functions when state and federal policies are not aligned. What to watch next? As discussions continue at the federal level around cannabis classification and financial reform, Virginia businesses and consumers should pay close attention to how these policies evolve. Changes to federal banking rules could significantly alter how cannabis businesses operate, how communities interact with them, and how local economies benefit from regulated commerce. For ongoing analysis of Virginia cannabis law, enforcement trends, and regulatory updates, continue exploring our channel and join the broader discussion through the Norfolk City Cannabis Community. So, when a business is licensed, taxed, and regulated by the state, why should it be forced to operate like it's illegal? Share your perspective below. Before you go, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.